Hi there. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, how are you doing? Just getting ready to have another chit chat with my good friend Nadine Searle of Calmer Self. We're going to talk about some topics in my book, Love Me, and just waiting for her now. Here she is. Let me just let her in. Oh, I see some people joining already too. So she should just be a second joining us. Hi, Christina. Hi, Rebecca. And excuse me today because I have to hold my phone because somehow my tripod went missing. So I know where it is. But anyways, hi, Nadine.
Hello. Hello. Are
How
you
I'm
holding
holding
it?
my phone.
Oh,
So
that's a bit of pressure.
yeah. So but it's all good. We're just going with the
Of
flow,
course. Of
and
course it is.
that's what these energies are inviting us to do right now. I've been talking
Oh,
about that a little bit, but so hopefully I'm not too jiggly for people with holding
it's
my phone. This is not what I planned, but anyways, I still want to do this. And how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And I'm really, really grateful that I have not got to hold my phone because I can't do it. I wobble like anything.
Yeah,
So I'm grateful that I've got my hands free. Yay.
that's good. Yeah.
Not to rub it into you, but you know. We have a beautiful evening here where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Outside the window, I'm looking at sunshine, a little breeze, the trees. It's just lovely. It's lovely. It's
Oh,
quite
that's
warm
good.
for at the moment, but it is
Yeah.
autumnal. So how about you? What's going on in your world?
It's weather-wise, it's kind of gray and blah today. It's been really nice. The last few days we've had a lot of sun. So, anyways, it is what it is, and just going with that flow, like I said. And just happy to see everybody. I see Diane.
Oh,
So
lovely. Hi,
Rebecca made it
Diane. Oh,
in,
Rebecca.
and
Yeah, I saw someone else
Christina.
pop up. But oh,
So
lovely, lovely. Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
gonna
That's
set
nice.
this
Well,
here. Maybe then I
do
don't have.
feel free if you've got anything you want to say, type it in the comments,
Yeah,
and we'll try and notice, won't we, while we're chatting?
we
We'll
will.
try and yeah, we will
So
do that.
I was just saying, as before you were joining, yeah, we're talking about, as everyone knows, if you've watched these before, we're talking about topics in my book, Love Me, that have sparked some curiosity in Nadine as she's reading. And I'm just so grateful that she wants to dig deeper and talk about it. And we don't often get to do that with books that we're reading. So to ask the author questions. So I'm
Yeah,
just so
I'm very
grateful for
lucky,
this
aren't I?
opportunity and what it's turned into, because it's not just these conversations that it's evolved into, but the group Zoom sessions that we've been having in a collective kind of healing space for people, and everyone has kind of given us the feedback. This is what they've been looking for. So I'm just so grateful for you and for us doing this together and sharing what we know and kind of moving through it with everyone and just kind of being the facilitators of that space.
Mm,
So thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Well, thank you, because if you didn't write this book, I wouldn't have anything to ask you. Well, I'd probably find something to ask you, but it really has. And just for the people that don't know, if it's your first time here or you don't know what we're talking about, because we've done quite a few of these now, haven't we?
Yeah.
It is really, I'm reading the book, I'm loving it, but it's making me think, and that's a good thing. So I'm reading it very slowly. It's making me sort of think, oh, yes, I can relate to this. There are always questions when I read anything, actually. So I am very lucky that I get to ask you
Hmm.
and just to question and to make sure that I understand what I'm reading. And I think that's something that I like to do that with the book. So it's really lovely to do it. And it's your story. You've put it in
Hmm.
such a beautiful way. You're very open and honest about your experiences and what you've learned as you've come through things. So you're sharing that with everybody.
Yeah.
And there's beautiful poetry too, isn't
Mm.
there? So it's not just writing, it is actually the way you express yourself is really wonderful. And it touches me deeply when I read it. So I hope that
Oh, thank you
everyone
for
is, if
saying that. Yeah, for
they
sharing
haven't
that.
got the
Yeah.
book, they need to get it. They need to get it if they haven't got it. But talking about it like this, people get a feel of what it's all about. But I read it I feel connected to you, which is so lovely.
Hmm.
And I can really, I can really feel what you're going through. And there are parallels with my life. And I think a lot of people, do you find, are people saying that to you that read the
Yeah.
book?
People are saying exactly what you're saying. First of all, it's taking them some time to move through it because it does prompt
Mm,
some contemplation and just kind of like exploration into your own journey and life.
yeah,
And so, and some of the topics are hard to face and, about
mm,
ourselves. So
yes,
that's why I wrote it the way that I wrote it. I knew it would be something that might prompt that contemplation, but also know that my journey, my story, I mean, it's my story, but that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one
no,
that's like going
no,
through something or, kind of feels like they've become somebody they didn't recognize anymore or whatever that
yeah,
is. So there's parallels definitely that people are drawing to the topics and themes in the book, which is what I wanted. I wanted, it's not just, it was healing for me, but I feel like it's becoming healing for other people to start the
yes, yeah,
conversations like you and I are doing. So that's
yeah,
again why I'm so
mm,
grateful because that's, it's not just, it's meant to be shared. It's not meant to be kept a secret. So I'm glad we're putting it out there
mm, yeah.
and yeah, talking about these things because it helps so many, I think.
Yes, and I think that's that, you are very, well, I'm grateful, and you're very brave, I think, to be, you put it out there, and it
Hmm.
is because you want to help people. So I've just seen, I think Jasmine's just joined, and
Jasmine,
Alex
yeah,
joined as well. So I'd
yeah.
like to say
Hi,
hello.
everyone.
So easily distracted, but I,
Yeah.
I really feel,
Hmm.
when I think about it, I think, oh, I could not write the way you write, but I'm very privileged that I'm getting to read it, and as I say, then to get to discuss these topics because it is important. And we did, I wouldn't say we started with trauma, but we did talk about trauma, didn't we? That was quite a big topic for us, wasn't it? And
Yes.
your line that I picked out, um, minimizing our trauma is a survival mechanism. Have I got that right? I should know it
Yes,
by now,
that's,
shouldn't I?
and that can be, yeah, interpreted in so many ways, but I think we
Yes.
tend to, what I meant by that, just to reiterate that and bring that back into this conversation, was that we tend to minimize our trauma to make ourselves feel better, to make ourselves like feel
Yeah.
okay, like because we're so conditioned to feel like
Mm.
society wants us to be okay all the time, and it's like out of the ordinary, if we're not, when you ask somebody, how are you today? And the standard answer is, oh, I'm doing good. I'm great. Fine. But a lot of times there's so much underneath that we don't share because
Mm.
it's uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable to
Yes.
share because it's uncomfortable even for us to work through what we're going through on ourselves. But then the whole point in this book and sharing my journey to finding love for myself and being comfortable with the imperfect parts of who I am, um, is so that it benefits all my other relationships with people.
Yeah.
And if we can't hold, I say it in the book too, if we can't hold our own emotion, we won't be able to hold anybody else's truly either. So
Mm.
that's why it's, I'm bringing this out into the light and, sharing it in the way that I shared it and talking about the things that have happened to us that have kind of shaped who we are, but that doesn't have to define us for the rest of our lives. We don't have to
No.
carry that. And that's why we're talking about it, because talking about it helps us
Yeah.
heal. So,
Yes,
and
definitely.
to bring in that, not to keep blabbering on, but to bring in the healing aspects. So I, had an interesting or exchange with somebody that I know also in the same kind of community, serving others in this way, and talking about the topic or the word healing and how that's defined, and it kind of implies that there's something wrong with us. But I see
Hmm.
healing, the
Yeah.
word healing, as a combination of unlearning and remembering who we are. So
That, yes. Yeah,
that
that
remembering
is a
that we
good
are
one.
whole already, we just
Yeah.
have been kind of conditioned to think that there's something wrong with us, or the parts of us that need healing, the wounds that we've experienced, that kind of beckon for that healing and release, that there's something wrong with that. But it's all about becoming more
Yeah.
whole and not having to carry the weight of that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Because I really feel that you describe so well in this book that, it's uncomfortable, a lot of what you've gone through, and I would
mm-hmm,
say, what you've chosen to go through, because a lot of your digging deep and working on yourself has been a choice, maybe
Yes.
guided to as you felt the need. And some people don't do that. I think we talked at one of our last talks, didn't we, a while back, about pressing the easy button. Some people
Yeah.
don't go there.
Yeah.
And, that's okay. But and if you can go through life and nothing big comes up, then fine. But that isn't my experience, and that isn't your experience, is it? These things have come up,
Mm-hmm.
and they do need addressing. And I feel you're right. It's about, and we're going to talk about that, unlearning, which is a wonderful phrase, isn't it? A way of looking
Yeah.
at things. But also it is that we learn about ourselves so that we can grow. And you and I are that.
Mm-hmm.
That's our personality, isn't it? We want to do that. We want to get better. So we will step into the uncomfortable and learn and move through it. And this is, you
Mm-hmm.
always say, lean into it, don't you? Feel it, really feel it, that kind of thing. And as you know, I've shared before, sometimes I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel sometimes. And that
Yeah.
is what I did in the past. And again, I'm working with you personally. You're helping me work
Mm.
through some things with all your beautiful, lovely healing Reiki. But it's not just healing, it's discovering, isn't it? It's
It is
intuitive
discovering.
work
Yeah.
that you help me with, you support me with. And also it is, isn't it? It's not because we're healing because there's something wrong with us. We're healing, I feel, and correct me if you think it's different, but for me, because I want to get better. I want to feel better. I want, not because there's necessarily something wrong, but I know I can improve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what drives me, I think. Do you think that's how
I,
it is for you,
I,
or do you think
I,
you're feeling it differently?
yeah, I mean, it's kind of in different words. I mean, it's the same thing. It's in talking about the unlearning is because like the unlearning, and that's why I made that a chapter, is because like
Yeah.
we kind of become somebody that is shaped, we're indoctrinated in society, we're conditioned, and kind of from the get-go, we come in whole, we come into this plane, the physical plane as whole beings. And then we soon forget, and we know why we're here, but then we soon forget because we're
Mm,
conditioned to play a part in society, which is
yeah.
fine. Like there's a social aspect to life and being human and all of that. But then we kind of lose touch with who we are because we're so busy trying to fit in the system that is there for
Yes.
us. So,
Mm,
so that is essentially, I don't know if that answered your question, but like how I got in the
yeah.
unlearning aspect of
Yeah.
was when I realized that it was a choice to kind of do the same thing you said, is to understand myself better and not and to live not necessarily better, but just in a more whole embodiment
Yes.
of
Yes.
who I am, and not, I call it like shaving off pieces of who I am in order to fit in a certain dynamic, whether that's
Yes.
in
Yeah.
family, a relationship, like a love partnership, or work
Mm,
environment, whatever it is, to just be able to be free. Hence the liberation part of the subtitle, to be free to be who I am, and like to
yeah.
invite everyone to be free and not have to
Yeah.
say, and to be okay with like, okay, I'm not okay today. I'm not feeling good
Yeah.
today. And it's
Yeah.
okay. And to be able to receive somebody's real answer when you ask them how they're
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And
all part of the unlearning.
I think you're so right. When I said better, that was a poor choice of words, because it's not
Well,
about
it's
that, is it? It is about feeling. And you said earlier about how we, if we are more comfortable with ourselves in this way and looking at things, then we're more helpful to others, aren't we? We can support our family and our friends, and
mm-hmm,
we're more open, we're more ready for that. And that is something that is brilliant. If everybody in the world could just step a little bit towards that, it would be hugely beneficial, wouldn't it? so
yeah,
so I think, and again, sharing this with people to go, it can be done. You
mm-hmm,
explain beautifully in the book, what you are going through and how you do improve and you feel better. You explain about how you don't feel so good, but then you do feel better. It goes around, doesn't it? So
yes,
it is inspiring in that way, isn't it? That you can
mm-hmm,
go, oh, you can feel really bad and something bad can happen, but actually you talk about your process of coming through it, which is wonderful that you share. And I think what you touched on earlier is so right. I mean, I was 13 years as a nursery school teacher, which is little children, 3 to 5 year olds.
mm-hmm,
And you're absolutely right, we come into this world knowing, we come into this world feeling and doing everything in a very natural way. And then you do actually, through the system, if you like, and I'm not criticizing, but we
Yeah.
change and we do, what's your lovely term, we shave bits of ourselves off so that we fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lose ourselves, don't we? We lose ourselves in that because we're fitting in. And I think that is the learning. That's the
Yep.
learning I was taught. Anyway, this is what you do.
Yeah.
You fit in.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is what,
Exactly.
yeah,
And
that's what I was taught. And now there's the unlearning. And I
it,
love that term. And I've got to be honest, when I first heard it, I thought, I don't know what that means. But I think I get it now. So I hope everyone else does, because it is that we learnt and now we're actually unraveling. I think you say about the it's easier to unroll than roll up. Is that what you
yes.
say?
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that. That makes
Yeah.
it really simple, because rolling something up is quite difficult. When you just go, I can unroll, it's
And
like,
it's
whoa.
like letting it all go. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like that vision of or imagery of like the process of unlearning is kind of like
Mm,
letting go of the story that who we are, who we think we are,
yeah.
who other people
Mm,
think we are, that we take on that story that's not true, but
yeah.
we just kind of, and
Yeah.
then we become our own critics and, the whole drill. So it's like that negative self-talk and everything. It's kind of so unraveling all of that bit by bit. And
Mm,
it's, like you said, it's not fun all the time. It's not, and it's not easy. And it's,
mm.
it's something once you make that choice, like it's never really done. So it requires
Yes.
perseverance, it requires patience, it requires
Mm,
courage, it requires vulnerability, all of the above. And so it's but it's so I wouldn't live any other way now.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I know I'm not
Yes.
perfect and I have to keep reminding them. And you know what? Like the whole imperfect, that's another topic too, because like I
Mm,
feel like we are imperfect, but it's divine imperfection because we're all unique
mm,
and this is our imperfections are our little wisdom treasures or whatever. Like there's information there for us and
yeah.
for our evolution. So I feel like
Mm,
that is also part of the unlearning
yeah.
that you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
because
mm.
there's no such thing, that's a myth. Again, a part of the
Yeah.
society and the system that we're brought into and conditioned in that we learn that is all part of now the unlearning and remembering who we are. So
Mm, mm. And I think you're so right. And again, go back to when I said all to be better. It's not, it is actually to go, well, let's just, there's a bit of me that goes, I'm experimenting with messing up,
mm-hmm.
experimenting with things that don't go well, because that's what life throws at us, doesn't it? And then seeing how we are in that and what that brings out in us is
Yeah,
quite fascinating, isn't it? If you can
it's
be brave enough to do it and go there, that
it,
you find out a lot about yourself, don't you? And that does really help you help others, doesn't it? Because you go, oh, we've experienced something you can share, like you've done with your book.
mm-hmm.
And it is that, as I say, this whole idea that, maybe, we are maybe told that we need to be perfect and we need to be this. It's definitely told we need to behave in a certain way. We're told that in so, school, work,
Yeah,
from friends, from family, that's the learning, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
And then the unlearning almost comes from setting you free, doesn't it? We're unlearning that. We
Yeah,
don't have to hold on to that.
yeah,
And sometimes there's some misguided loyalties, misplaced loyalties, isn't there? To like, this is my story, this is what I know, this is what I am, and to realize that we can let that go is really freeing, isn't it?
yeah,
But then we can feel very uncomfortable, and you describe that again really beautifully, how uncomfortable that can feel, and you can feel a little bit lost, because then you're going, okay, what's the learning? It's unlearning, and then what comes next, isn't it?
yeah.
So,
It's
and you do
so
explain that beautifully. Yeah.
it's so interesting too as you're saying all this. I'm remembering like the beginning
Yeah.
of this, when I connected the dots, and that's like one of the chapters is connecting the dots, and
Yes. Yeah.
was when I went to this retreat, and the very first workshop was about remembering or it's about everyone has a story, but the story
Mm.
that we have in our minds about who we are doesn't have to be our story forever. And so then
Yes.
I
Yeah.
was like, it just all clicked to me, like connecting all the dots to how I got to here. And so then began that journey of like unlearning.
Mm.
Once I started to say, okay, I'm going to do this, then I started to see things. And I remember writing about this. I started to see beliefs and things that I had held on to. I just kind of, we go into, as we grow up and we kind of take on beliefs that we don't even know if we necessarily believe. We just like, this is
Yes.
just how it is. This is how, what our family
Yeah.
believes. And this is
We go with
what,
it. Yeah. We go
and,
with it.
just kind of going through the motions. But I'm like, wait, that doesn't, I don't believe that anymore.
Mm.
So then there was like an exploration into that. And then at one point I was like thinking, is everything that I learned in high school or history class or whatever,
Mm.
like a
Mm.
lie? Because I was like
Yeah.
starting to say, like, this isn't the truth. Like there's
Mm.
stuff
Mm.
underneath that. And again, it's uncomfortable, especially sharing that. And
Mm.
even how I shared what I shared in the book, that's only a part of the whole unlearning process, because it was pretty deep and complex and heavy and all of that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a
It's
sampling of what the unlearning
yeah.
process was for and why and all of
Mm.
that.
Mm.
So
Yeah. And it is that, you know, very much, as soon as you start doing that, then you do go, we are, we have our belief system wherever it's come from, and we hold on to that, and that is our identity sometimes,
mm-hmm.
isn't it? And then to question that, to go, well, is that true? Because it comes up sometimes. It came up for you to question that for different things that happen in your life. For me, it was the same. I thought, actually, is this who I am? It started to not feel right. I
Yeah.
started to question. I started to go, oh, hang on a minute, kick against the system, if you like, a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
there was something and I think we both experienced that. And it's something, whether it's something that happens in our life or just a feeling of being unsettled and just knowing there's something more, something different, I don't know, that draw us to actually just questioning these things. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you start questioning, you do then go, oh, but I'm not conforming anymore, I'm not doing that now, where am I, who am I, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think as well, you've said, and I'd like to read out a little bit if I might, because it's about then you start making other people very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you must really then, to stand strong and keep going when that happens as well. It's hard, isn't it?
It
It's
is
very hard.
hard, and it can be
Mm.
lonely, and it can be, yeah, it can make you say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
like, so I think that's why a lot of people might be hesitant to take to explore there, to go there,
Yeah,
to maybe
yeah.
consider a new perspective about, what we've been taught, what we've
Mm,
learned in our
mm.
lives, and how, that has shaped who we are in our human experience. So yeah,
Oh,
I
you've
mean, I know I
frozen
could
up.
say
I
so
don't know
much
if
more,
I've
but I know you
frozen
want
at
to
all.
ask me
Oh.
a specific question. Oh,
Well, you froze for a second there. So
okay.
I just heard you want to ask me a question.
Oh, I was just, yeah, I just basically said that, no, I can't remember what I said.
Oh, don't worry.
Well,
Don't worry.
um, anyways, go ahead and ask your question and we'll come
Well,
back.
no,
That'll
what, I,
come back
what I'd
around.
like to do is read out just a little quick paragraph because it explains exactly what we're saying about this kind of, we are we're in fear when we start doing this, and how it then
Yes.
affects
Yeah.
everyone else, and how it's so easy to go back, press the easy button, and not do it. That's what I really want
Yes.
to demonstrate. You again
And
in
that's
this
what I was,
paragraph, you
yeah,
really,
saying.
yeah,
It
is
can
that,
become lonely in that spot.
yeah,
That's what I was saying.
that
And so
exactly.
you
You're
make
so,
you want to not do it. But like I said, I can't
yeah,
not live this way anymore,
yeah,
because it's just, that's that's how I want to live now. I want to
yeah,
understand deeper and deeper and deeper.
mm,
So
yeah. There's no
even if
going
it's
back.
uncomfortable, yeah,
There's no easy
there's
button.
no, yeah,
It's pushed through, but it does to me. And again, you describe it so well in so many examples, that actually pushing through,
mm-hmm,
going through it, really feeling those feelings and going through the fear and the uncomfortable feelings. There is something beneficial at the other side, isn't there? And that's the message I want everyone to get from this, because it is so worth it, isn't it?
yeah,
So
it is
it
so worth
really,
it.
it
Yep.
really is. But like you said earlier, it doesn't stop. There
No.
will be something come up again, and that's something I think we really need to understand and accept. And that is okay, that something's going to come up again, and we do more. We maybe repeat the same things. We're learning all the time,
Mm-hmm.
learning, unlearning. It is a process, isn't it? So, and I've accepted that it probably will be the way things are forever. Now
Yeah.
we've started, which is it's okay.
It's
It's okay.
okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but this little paragraph, as I say, explains it much better than me rabbiting on. So I'll say what you said here is, not only was I having to navigate my own fear,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone else is around me. those who weren't used to me showing up differently than they were used to. I started to hear those accusations and judgments. Who do you think you are? And you've changed with more frequency. Fear echoed inside of me with thoughts of, who am I to step into the truth of who I am, to step into my power? And my response became, well, who am I not to?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have just got chills reading that again, and I've read that a lot, but it's so powerful, isn't it? You know, that who do you think you are? I've heard that so much in my life. Who do you think
Yeah.
you are?
And
You know,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
no,
feel like
no, no.
we then take that over in our own minds.
Yeah,
Like we'll be like, who do you
yeah.
think you
You
are? Like,
stop.
why, oh, like, and we second guess ourselves and all the
Mm,
things, even just about like putting ourselves out there in this way or whatever, like writing
mm.
the book. Like, I
Yes,
feel like,
you must have had that said so many times. Who are you
yeah.
to write this book? And you go, well, who am I not to? I love that response, and I think that is something again I want people to really hear. Well, who am I not to?
And
That's the answer all the time. You're on this path, you're doing this. I'm so grateful that you've done all this and you've written the book and you've shared it. So exactly, who am I not to? You
yeah,
needed to do this. I'm grateful that you did. So that's the answer, isn't it, when people do it? And that you've changed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
of
that's our whole
course.
purpose here. Of course, so it's funny because I will say that I became that. That's why I said it that way. I became, well, who am I not to? Because yeah, it wasn't an instant like, obviously it was recognizing that I was taking on those fears too of everybody else. Like, to
Yes.
going
Yeah.
back to why I wrote that the way that I did, or why I said that, like, take navigating other people's fears too, is because when we change, when we grow, it's uncomfortable for the people around us who know us to be a
Yes.
certain way, and then we're
Yes.
showing up differently, and then we're not in this like small little box that they've put us in all this time, however, whatever length of time it
Mm,
is that they've known
mm,
us. And so when we start expanding and growing, yes, it's going to look different. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. But that is like, I see that when I see other people. And so there's a piece of another um, avenue of unlearning, I guess, in that is because that fear comes from not measuring up or not being good, not feeling good enough in ourselves. So
mm.
a whole other topic about judgment, and when we judge others, when we're saying, oh, well, you're this, like, who do you think you are, and all that, we're really saying that to ourselves. Like, we're really judging
Yes.
ourselves. So,
Yes.
but it comes from the societal conditioning that like we're never enough. We're constantly striving to prove ourselves and our worth
Mm,
and all of
mm.
that. So when we see somebody expanding and growing, the tendency is to feel like from a scarcity mindset, because that's where like that there's not enough. So if that person's growing, well, I guess there's not room for me to grow too. And so we start
Yes.
with this like, chain of thoughts
Yes.
that lead us not
Yeah.
into a good headspace. And but
Yes.
that's not really what the human experience is about. Like, well, there's enough and more than enough for all of us to
Mm,
expand and grow and become in who we were came here to be, to let our souls live the journey that they knew that they were coming here for.
mm.
Heartbreak, pain, suffering, all of it like is bringing us closer to a more evolved consciousness.
Yeah.
And so it's now I'm losing my train of thought again, but
Mm,
it's the reason why I shared it the way that I did is because a lot of times when we're navigating that fear of other people, like they're projecting their own fears of themselves onto us. Well,
yeah.
you shouldn't do that, or you should be safe, or you should do like blah blah blah, all these things. And but if we do that, then we just stay where we are. And for
Mm,
me,
mm.
I take whatever, if somebody says to me, but I don't take it personally anymore. I try not to, because I know how I feel, and it's about feeling in alignment with who I am. So
Yeah.
it's not about having to make anyone else happy about the way I'm living my life anymore, because that's
Mhm,
why I ended up where I ended up. And when I had the breakup and realizing that I had been living to everybody else's expectations.
mm.
So it's about living guided internally rather than externally, from all the
Yeah.
things, all the narratives, all the little sounds and noise around us, to really tuning into what we know inside, deep inside of us, is the guidance and wisdom that's already there. So it's that is like a huge component of unlearning, of not having to look externally and
Yes.
for validation or for confirmation that
Yes.
I'm doing the right thing in my life, because what I'm doing, my life, it doesn't have to make, and your life doesn't have to make sense to anybody else but you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's, again, it stops us from progressing and growing and expanding and becoming more whole, because if we listen to those voices. And I just, yeah, I don't know. And it's a constant. I will say that, I've written this book. I, share what I know, but it's not, like you said, or we said, it's an ongoing journey. So I'm
It
constantly
is. Yeah.
presented with opportunities to practice this. So it's not
Yes.
like it's a one and done and like, oh, I'm done and I'll just sit and wait for you guys to catch up. No, it's not like that. But I
Oh
think that's
no.
what people think when getting away from what people think. That is my biggest ego thing. I will share
Yes.
that, is like what
Yeah.
people think of me, and that will always
Mhm.
probably be something that is an opportunity for me to release. So, and I'm
Mm.
okay with that. I'm okay with admitting that, because we are ego driven and
Yeah.
our ego is tricky. It wants us to feel
Yes.
safe. And so it
Yeah.
will play every
Yeah.
trick in the book to make us like take an action that maybe inhibits us from expanding where our
Mm.
soul, wants us to go.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
ego sometimes gets in the way because we think we have to feel comfortable all the time. So,
Yes, so right. Yes, it's we want to be comfy. But I think again that does really reflect back to that learning. We've learned
yeah.
to me. I've definitely learned to be a people pleaser. I wanted to make everyone else feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
not myself. That wasn't important to me. As I learned to not take that as something that was important to me, and then that unlearning of like, hang on a minute, actually I am important in this, and my feelings do count and do matter.
Yeah.
But where you just described that, and you've got to this point of going, well, who am I not to?
Right.
People might be listening now and going, well, it's all right to say that, but how do you change? I know
Mm-hmm.
that it's all described in the book, so I would say to people, yes, get the book and read it, because you will understand. But is there something that you can say to people and go, there is something that helps you actually reach that point? Because I know if I'd have spoken to you maybe 5 years ago, I would be listening and going, yeah, wonderful. I haven't got a clue how I get there.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult question to throw at you,
It's
but is
it,
there
and it's a
something?
difficult question to answer, but I will say that letting go of needing other people's approval of how I'm
Mm,
living my life, and that in and of itself is not easy. It's a practice, and it's reminding myself that I am much happier living my life the way that I'm living now than I
yeah,
was living to other people's expectations and checking all the boxes of society to say that I, got my degree, had got married, had kids, like check all the
mm,
boxes, and that
mm,
I'm a good person, like look at me. But that's, I wasn't
yeah,
like, I'm like, who am I
not
and
for
why am
you.
I
Yeah,
showing up this way, and all the questions that I mention in the book. So it's,
yeah, yeah,
I think the biggest reminder is to let go of needing the approval of anyone else for my life or
yes,
for your life.
yeah,
And I mean, obviously, if you have young kids and all that, like there's priorities, of course, but
yes,
it's also,
yeah,
don't let yourself, like, just because you're a mother doesn't mean that you let yourself go and be the last on the list.
mm,
That's the
and
exact
get lost in it.
opposite. And
Yeah,
there's a whole nother topic
mm,
there of, like, if you're not happy, if you're not feeling whole, everyone around you is going to feel that. So when you're feeling your
yes,
best, when you're when you're pouring into yourself, when you're firm in the embodiment of your wholeness and who you are, and connected at the soul level, everything around you is gonna reap the benefits of that. So, in
yeah,
everyone and every relationship, and all of it. So that's why, something I wanted to say before too is like, why are we talking about this? Like, you think, oh, I don't want to dive into this work. It's a lot. It's heavy. It's like you said, like sometimes we don't want to feel this way, but it's our individual journeys and our individual healing and work, the inner work we do, that impacts the collective, impacts like the
mm,
whole of humanity. So
Yeah.
such a big topic. Like we could go
It,
on and
it,
on and on about
it is.
this and
You're so
unlearning
right.
and I
It
think
is.
there's a lot more to say about unlearning specifically. We've touched on
Yeah,
it
I
in
think
a high
it's
level,
good.
but
It would be good for us to come back to this. I'm
yeah,
just reading who Rebecca's put up. Remember, it was uncomfortable when the lie of who we are was imposed.
yes,
Interesting how uncomfortable it is to let it go.
that's
And
so
that is
interesting.
interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
Thank you
because
for that.
yeah, that is really quite profound, isn't it?
It
Because it
is.
is. And we're not pretending it's an easy journey. It's not the easy button,
No.
but it is so worth it, isn't it? And I think as well, it's something that I would say, and correct me if you disagree, but I would say, for me personally anyway, I couldn't do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I really needed that help and support to go through this process and have a hand to hold, that kind of thing, because actually I was scared. It was uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I even say to you still to this day, I don't want to do this today. There's times when I go, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But with that little bit of guidance, that support and everything, it's so beneficial. And thankfully I can just give it up and we can get through this. But it
Yeah,
is sometimes, it is uncomfortable,
it is.
but it is worth it, isn't it, to get through and then to get to that point of go, well, I'm letting go of what other people think about me because
Mm-hmm.
I'm true to myself and I feel, you understand yourself and what you need to do and how you need to show up.
Yeah,
And that is freeing, isn't it? That
it
is so
is.
freeing.
And I will say
Mm,
too that yeah, it's always ongoing and we 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 need to be supported in that sometimes we need somebody else to work through it. Like you said, I have helped you.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
equally helped me in your unique ways, in different ways than I help others. And like
yeah,
all the calmer self method that you have, the gentle questioning, the tapping, all of that has helped me and it
mm,
continues to help me. And I want to keep exploring this. And yes, it's uncomfortable. And
yeah,
but I will say too, when you ask me if there's one thing you can do, and back on that, and I said let go of needing the approval for anyone
mm,
about what the choices you're making in your life, but also that it doesn't have to be perfect. To let go of the myth of
yes,
perfection, because
yeah,
each action we take informs, like gives us information about ourselves. So each
yeah,
little dive into each little session we have, like you and I with each other or whatever, each little
yeah,
moment of contemplation informs the next step.
yes.
We don't have
Little
to have it all
steps,
figured
isn't it?
out. We're never going to have it all figured out, and it's
Yeah,
okay. And it can be imperfect. Imperfect action is the best kind of action because it
yeah.
helps us understand
I love that.
which way to
That's
go.
good to
So
hear.
yeah,
Imperfect action. That's the way. We don't
yeah,
have to be perfect. We don't have to get it right. We don't have to know the answers, but doing something
yeah.
is how it leads you forward. I love that. And it really reminds me this time of year, we have the leaves falling from the trees.
Mm-hmm.
I use nature a lot to help with my work and with my personal journey. And that, the idea, and I've said it to you before, and if people want to know more,
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of what I do about it. But just briefly, is when you see a leaf come from a tree, you can attach something that you are ready to let go of or want to let go of to that leaf and
Mm.
watch it fall and let it go. And that is powerful. And it's a
It
little
is.
practice we've done before, isn't it? And it is so powerful. But it is little steps, isn't it? It's not, you can put something massive on that leaf, but you can put something very little in the moment
Little,
and
yeah.
let that go. And then see you feel different, and this is it. Do it. Take a step.
It's
Take
just
some
one
imperfect
small
action.
thing.
Yeah.
You're right. That is such a good practice, because it's
Mm,
all the little baby steps that lead
yeah.
to the big impacts and big
Yeah.
shifts in our lives. And
Mm,
it's not something, doesn't have to be something monumental. It's the
yes.
actions, the
Mm,
little actions we take each day, the little moments of being present and saying, okay, I'm going to let this go, instead of stuffing it down and being like, oh, I'm okay with this.
yeah.
Like,
That's
because
the thing,
like
isn't
we
it?
talked
Yeah.
about before, that just comes up eventually anyways. So it
Yeah,
comes
that was
back.
my
It's never
experience. It
gone.
comes back. Yeah, I think
So
so. Or it makes you ill, doesn't it? If we stuff it down really
it does.
successfully,
Yeah.
that's not healthy. But I think, it is really for me as well. It's that, like you said earlier, it's a practice, isn't it? Do something And I always say to people, experiment, play around. Some things will
Yeah.
work, some things won't. Play around with it. Be open to trying, watching a leaf fall, see what you can do. Try it again. I know that when I first heard that, I thought, yeah, really? I had to go. Thought, maybe, don't know, did it again. It took a little while before I really got it, but
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it and I was feeling a bit better because I was doing something. I
Yeah.
was taking imperfect action and it did make me feel better rather than staying stuck and pretending I didn't need to do any of this. It was better for me to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage everyone to there's lots of little ways we can do things and give it a go. However silly you might feel, it works
Yeah.
sometimes, doesn't it,
And
to have a go?
that's just getting to know yourself too. Like it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to
Yeah.
feel silly or do something different or,
Mm.
whatever. That's why we're here. We're,
Yeah.
not here just to go through the motions every day. It's, yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, experiment and take what works for you and leave what doesn't. And
Mm.
sometimes things will work for you and other times, you need to
Yeah.
find something else. And that's okay too. It's all part of it.
Mm.
It's all part of the
Yeah.
learning and unlearning.
You're
So,
so right. You're so right. But like you say, this is a massive topic, isn't it?
yeah,
So we are going to come back to this.
we
Now
will.
we have
Yeah.
our deeper discussion, don't we? We have a Zoom private space that we hold for people, don't we? That we've got that coming up, and that's in a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it's on the 9th, I believe.
yeah, so we've got that coming up. We would encourage people to join us if they want to, where you can actually speak.
Yeah.
And it is, people are loving that, aren't they? Having
Yeah.
that space and feeling free to talk. And we don't lead the conversation, do we, Trish? We let people talk about what they want to talk about. And
Yeah, we
we've
kind of
had a
open it up
range.
and say, if anyone has anything to
Yeah.
share, and it's like you said, all about your comfort level of being there.
Hmm.
And I really feel like in the feedback we've gotten, we've created the safe container for that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so beautiful to see that unfold and to be a
Yes.
part of it. It's a co-creation. It's not us
Yeah.
leading
Yeah.
it. So it's just, and I think it's so beautiful and necessary right now. And people need, like
Yeah.
we're hearing, they've been looking for this. So
Yes, that's
if
the
you feel
feedback we're
called
getting, isn't it? Yeah.
to, dive in and just start
Mm.
joining the conversation, and if it's
Yeah.
calling out to you, maybe this is a sign to join us for the next
Yes.
one. So you can message
Exactly.
us, and we'll
Yeah.
make sure you get the link for that.
Exactly, yeah. And
And
just to say that people can keep their cameras off, can't they? They can keep
yeah,
anonymous if they want to, or they can join in. It's optional, so that gives people the freedom, doesn't it? People do that sometimes, don't they?
yeah, it's at your level of
Mhm.
comfort, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's just I'm so glad and grateful that we're doing that. And
Yeah.
I look forward to the next conversation that we have, because I know we're going to talk
Yes.
some more about this unlearning. We could talk forever today, but want to try to
Yes.
keep this in digestible
I'm
pieces for
thinking
people.
about your hand holding that. I just think, oh my gosh, I don't know how you did it. It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
hopefully it's not too shaky for people with this lack of a tripod today. But
No, I
um,
think you've been amazing.
so
But
thanks.
thank you for answering my questions and going deeper with this, because it's a big topic and it is something, as I say, I took a while to understand. So it's
Yeah,
nice that people do. So any questions, put them in the comments. We
yeah,
will look at them and we'll answer them, because it is important. So if you've got any questions, do ask.
ask. Yeah, I'll post the replay, and you can ask there, and we can
Mhm.
continue the conversation. So.
Yeah.
So thank you for again doing this with me, Nadine, and asking the questions. I love that. I love what you're coming up with and what we're talking about as you work your way through the book. So
Thank
thank you so
you. Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Bye bye then.
Oh, and wait.
Oh,
Where can people find you? We've got to say that just in
oh,
case this is their first time seeing
yes.
this.
Yes. Thank you for reminding us. Yeah, I don't remember that. I think everyone knows me.
Yeah,
Calmer Self. I'm the Calmer Self Method on Instagram, Calmer Self YouTube, Calmer Self. There's Calmer Self Cafe on Facebook that you
yeah.
can join, where you can find lots of things out. And what about you, Trish? Where do we all find you?
Well, here on Instagram, this is Trish Campbell. My website is thisistrishcampbell.com, and I'm on Facebook as this is Trish Campbell as well. So, and you
And
can
you
find the
can get
book.
the book.
Yeah, Amazon
I hope it's the right
worldwide,
name.
indigo.ca, barnesandnoble.com, book depository. It's out there. It's getting out there more and more. So thank you. Thanks everyone for if you're listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye everyone.
Bye bye.